Welcome to our podcast,
Real Marriage
Real Talk
with
Mr. and Mrs. Eagleton. But you even, like yourself, will admit that you were pretty arrogant back in the day. What is that look?
I don't know if I was really arrogant.
I didn't say really.
I just wanted to know what your mom thought from that first time, because I wasn't at your house maybe 30 minutes
right.
before we left.
It was really quick. It was quick. Yeah,
But from that initial meeting, she thought I was.
Okay, I'll take that back. I don't really know what she thought from the initial meeting because it was so quick.
Okay.
And she didn't tell me her impression, but as we were dating, I could tell she was like, "Oh, like he thinks." But why don't you describe your personality to our viewers at that time?
Sweet and nice and loving. No? It was sweet and nice and loving. No?
Well, I'll say this.
It wasn't. I know. It was, maybe if we talk about our upbringing some too. So very different than her upbringing. I grew up in a small town. I grew up in Crosby, Texas, which is, at the time, maybe, 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Very small, largely segregated, so basically across the tracks. At the time, it was predominantly white and Black people, a few Hispanics, non-Blacks, but very small, South, right? So all the things. I don't think the schools integrated 6 years before I was born, to give you an idea.
Right.
So Brown versus Board of Education was 1954 when that passed. The school district in Crosby wasn't integrated until 1965. So 6 years before I was born, and 11 years after that Supreme Court decision was decided. Mm-hmm. So that gives you an idea of kind of where I grew up and the way I grew up. Very segregated kind of city. And even after the schools were segregated, in theory, the schools were still somewhat segregated. Right. There were no schools in the, quote, Black part of town until later on. And then there were only 2 grades that were there. So I grew up in a school system that had only recently been integrated, and we were very good students. My siblings and I were very good students, and all 3 of us were at the top of our class when we finally graduated. So that was kind of and I grew up in a very, I say conservative, I shouldn't say that, religious. Yeah. We were in the church all the time. We went to church on Sunday, and back then there were 2 services. We had service on Sunday morning. We had Sunday school. We had service at night. We had what we called Bible school on Monday. We had Wednesday night Bible study. We may have had something else on a Friday or whatever. If there was a revival or someone who came in to speak for a week at the church, we were there. So that was my upbringing. And I tell people all the time, I think I probably know more about the Bible than any other single subject, because that was how we grew up. Mm-hmm. So that was my upbringing. We were always in church. And that was just how we grew up. So it impacted the way we saw the world, the way we thought about things, the way we approached things. Additionally, my parents were married until I left. So I was gone for college. I think my parents got divorced when my sister was a senior in high school. So they were married for 21 years or 22 years, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So we had a mom and dad in the home, quote unquote. But my mom was very involved with us. She was always around. She took us all of our practices, our rehearsals, our stuff, and she was there. So that impacts the way you're brought up, what you're accustomed to impacts how you show up in relationships, and especially how you show up in marriages when you have to cohabitate. So that was kind of my background. And so my mom would do things like we'd get the newspaper and we would sit down and discuss like current issues that were in the newspaper. We'd talk about it and we'd sit down and talk about it at the table. Just very different than your upbringing. But I think by the time I met you, I had probably grown more into who I was. And I was more comfortable with myself then than I had been as a teenager. I'm even more comfortable with myself now. I am what I am, and I'm good with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how people can grow and change and become comfortable with themselves. It usually happens the older you get, hopefully. But you get comfortable with yourself and comfortable with who you are. So our families didn't have much. The way she was brought up, the way I was brought up, we had no similarities as far as that goes. And our families are very different because I have two siblings. My parents were married. Again, we grew up with mom and dad in the house. Mm-hmm. My dad wasn't there all the time because of work. So I think my mom functioned in a lot of respects like a single mother.
Right. Just because he wasn't there.
Because he wasn't there a lot. But I think when my family met you, they were just impressed with your maturity from the very beginning. And I think the first time my mom met you was when you were helping her. My mom was moving. Mm-hmm. She was moving from one apartment to another. So we were helping her move, and Tivarri came with me, and she just jumped in. So she helped move. She didn't sit around. Like, she was moving boxes and moving. So it was really impressive that she was, again, someone who was hardworking. And I think it's probably from her background. You grow up with a single mom, you and your single mom most of the time. And so you start doing stuff because you learn that I really can't rely on the men that have been a part of my life. Mm-hmm. Not all men.
Right.
But I can't really rely on the men that have been a part of my life. So we just do stuff. You grow up as a daughter of a single mom. You do stuff. You learn to do stuff. So it was impressive to me that she just jumped in and started doing things when we were helping my mom move. It would have been easy to sit and watch or not come at all. Yeah. So, but she was a hard worker and she was a hustler. So that was impressive to me. I don't remember what my family's impression of you was.
I don't know either.
I don't remember. I mean, it was positive. My mom it had to have been positive.
Yeah.
I assume.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I never felt any kind of negativity from anyone in your family. Even your dad. Like, your dad and I, he would want to go to lunch different times because I would work downtown sometimes, and he was there, and he'd see if we wanted to go and have lunch. Yeah. But, yeah, it was great. I will say this, though. With my impression of you, one, when we first started dating, I loved that because I was young and I wasn't quite as mature as I thought I was, but I was impressed with the fact that you were very transparent. You were very black and white then. You hadn't learned about all of the gray in life at that time.
Right. Sometimes I'm still very black and white.
Right. So it was, but he was the kind of person where it's like, what I say, I mean. I mean what I say. What I say I'm going to do, I do. Like, those kind of things. I can stand on my word. And I thought that you were, and still are, like, one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. He was just smart. Like, even when we were dating, he was reading several books at the time. His first gift to me was books. And when he gave them to me, I was like, thank you. Like, who gives somebody books for as their first gift with dating? But he was an intellectual. And although I dated, nice people, I had never dated someone with the vocabulary, with the intellect, with, even like the perceptions of other things, even like trivial knowledge, like things you just knew.
I know a lot of trivia.
Yeah, I bet you do.
A lot of trivial knowledge.
Right.
You know what trivial means? Completely unimportant.
But I know, but I felt like when we would have conversations, you knew about, like, I didn't remember being able to talk to you about things that you didn't know about already and that you could impart and you could, elaborate on. Because you were well-read, you had gone to college, you had a finance degree from University of Texas Business School. Like, you were just smart. Like you were saying before, you were in debate in school. You and your siblings were in the top of your class there. So
all the things nerdy kids did.
All the things nerdy kids did. Seriously, all the things
we were on the debate
kids
team
did.
and the speech team
Yeah, all the things
all
nerdy
the things.
kids did.
Yeah.
But I'd never met anyone who was like that. And I was very impressed. In contrast to your upbringing, mine's very different. So when I was born, my mom had just turned 16. I think my dad was 17. And didn't know, and like my mom didn't grow up with a father around too. So it was just we were in survival mode, I feel like, always. Survival and having each other's backs. And then my dad grew up with both his parents, but he was never raised to be industrious and hardworking or that education was important. So when my mom had me, she got her GED, like she dropped out of school. My dad just like quit school, so he never finished. So education wasn't something that I was brought up to feel like was a priority and important. And like I don't remember getting, books and stuff. I got toys, because I was an only child for a while. But I don't remember family trying to really shape my mind. You know what I mean? It's just so. But I did always know, I've always been ambitious. Even when I was like younger, this is why I hustled. Even when I had like the jobs that I've had, I always worked really hard. I'd be the first person in and the last person to leave. So I was always, trying to be better, trying to do better. And I got promotions and I did well. But it wasn't because, I had someone behind me saying, you need to go to school, you need to do this, you need to do that. Instinctively, I was like, no, I'm going to do differently. I'm going to do differently. And that doesn't mean I'm trying to be better. You know what I mean? I think people can feel like, oh, you feel like you're better than this. It was never about being better or doing better. It was just doing what I desired. So which
was different than what you may have seen.
It was different than what I'd seen, yes, for sure. But it wasn't like I'm trying to be better than this. I want it different from that. So if someone is in a situation like that and they don't, they say they're happy and they are content with their lives, that's great. I just was not.
And sometimes when you decide that you want to do something different, you will have some resistance from people that you're around or your family members, which can make it challenging because then they say you're trying to be better than us or you think you're better than us.
Yeah.
And really, I just want my life to go in this direction.
Right.
Not if what you're doing is fine for you, that's fine for you.
Exactly. So, we came together where like a lot of those things with upbringing and even a lot of priority, like they just weren't the same. But I found interest in how you were brought up and you found interest in how I was brought up and how it shaped who I was.
Right. Yeah. So our first year of dating was mostly not long after we started dating, maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Right. So how did we become an item? Boyfriend and girlfriend.
Well, I was working as a consultant, and they approached me about a year-long project in California. I said approached. They told me I was going on a year-long project in California.
They weren't saying, hey, here's an option. Do you want to go? They're like, here, we have this project for you to go
You're
on.
You're going to the Bay Area for the next year.
Right.
Which is fine. They were going to furnish my apartment and move me there, and I was going to be there for a year or a little under a year. And so during my negotiations with them, I asked for 2 plane tickets a month to either come to Houston or fly somebody out. They agreed to that. My plan was that either every other week I would come to Houston and see her, or I would fly her out. More of it was flying her out, I think, than coming back. So a good part of our first year of dating, I was in California and she was in Texas.
Yep. But how did you ask me? How did I become your girlfriend?
I said, in the most player way ever.
It's literally the player way, most player way ever.
I said, look, I have to go on this project for a year. I can't do anything about it. I don't want you to see anybody else.
I was like, okay.
She clutched her pearls and said,
okay. Because for me, I was like, he is a man. Like, he is telling me something. He is letting me know what he's thinking. There was you're very confident about it. I guess you realize I probably were going to be like, okay, anyway. But yeah, so for me, I was like, wow, like he's like a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was how the first year went. And so we drove to California together.
Mm-hmm.
We'd been together a couple of weeks. She drove with me. I arranged for her to drive with me and then to fly her back on the company's dime.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where we were. We were in Arizona, New Mexico.
We stopped in Tucson.
I had a cousin who was in the military there. We stopped to visit her and stay overnight.
Yep.
During the drive, she says, I love you.
That's not true. I said that in your apartment.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Before we even left. So a couple of weeks in.
It wasn't that. No, it was longer than that. We had only been dating a couple of weeks when you told me about the project you had to go on. But you didn't go on that project until October. We met in August.
So we had a couple of months.
Right.
Okay. So we're in my apartment.
Like a month or so. Yeah.
And she said, what did you say?
Those
fateful words.
Here's a lesson for you. Do not say I love you first. Do not.
Why?
Because I told this person I loved him, and he just looked like...
What's the movie? Love Stinks.
Right.
It was Love Stinks.
Like,
when she said, yeah. She said, I love you. It was like, oh, already? It was one of those moments.
Right. And then I felt foolish because I was like, oh, I've told this.
Made the rest of the evening awkward.
It was, right. I could not wait to get out of there. But yeah. Yes.
So.
But on the trip when we were going to California, you told me.
So on the trip, I told her I loved her.
Mm-hmm. Because I decided I'm never, ever, ever saying this again, ever, until he says it and has to say it a few times before I even say I love you too, because I needed to make sure.
But I don't, that was probably the first time you had told someone you loved them first.
It was, for sure.
Because she was young and cute and shapely. And so I'm sure there were dudes all the time trying to talk to her, and I love you, you're going to be my wife, my mom loves you, all of it. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it, I'm sure. And so this dude didn't tell me I loved me. He loved me first. That was uncharted territory for me.
Literally. And then I was thinking, after I was in my brain, I was like,
what the hell?
Why did you say that? What is wrong here? Why did you say that?
But it all worked out.
It did work out.
The heart just says what the heart says.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So our first year was really long distance.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't problematic because we didn't have any kids. The company was paying for her to fly or for me to fly to Houston. Mm-hmm. So that meant every other week we got to see each other. There's the excitement of that.
Yep.
And, absence makes the heart grow fonder in some ways, in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
And because we weren't seeing each other all the time, we tried to make those every other weekend special.
Yeah.
So if she came to my apartment in California, I would go and buy gifts, and I would wrap them, and I'd put them in the apartment for her to open when she got there. I would plan for us to do things that were fun and interesting.
Romantic,
we might go we went to Monterey and picked strawberries.
Yep.
We went to Monterey to see the seals. We went to Fisherman's Wharf. We would just do things. It was just an exciting.
Yeah, we just had adventures every time. Yeah,
right.
Every other weekend. Yeah, it was fantastic. Fantastic.
But it was an every other week thing. Very different. So, there weren't cell phones. I guess maybe there were cell phones then.
There were. But they weren't as prolific.
Right. So I would write her letters and I would mail them to her.
And I still have those letters. I have handwritten love letters that he would write out, put in an envelope with a stamp, and send to me.
That's serious game.
It's so serious. That's why I said I love you.
Writing a handwritten letter. Handwritten letters and...
Had no idea you were gaming me the
No,
whole time.
I wasn't. It was... No, it wasn't. I guess it was game. I don't know if it was game or not.
What was it? I mean, tell the people. What was that? Why were you doing those things?
I was expressing how much I loved you. That's all it was.
Aww.
That's all it was. And I wrote it down because that was the game part. Saying it wasn't the game part. Writing it down and mailing it was the game part.
Because like some of those letters are like pages long. You put a lot of you poured your heart out onto those pages.
People don't do that these days.
No, they don't.
If a guy writes a letter to a woman
she's
now,
gonna think he's like a creep. Yeah, she'll be like,
"You wrote me a letter."
I know. Isn't that crazy though? Because a letter takes time and thought and effort.
Right.
Yeah.
But it. So that was our first year, seeing each other every other week. But it was an exciting year.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about a couple of things because we were talking about families. Like I'm very close. I grew up like very close with my dad's side of the family, even though my father was an absentee father. He was not there. He was not responsible. He did not help my mom. But my grandmother and my aunts, I was very close. We would go, I'd be there a lot. So that was like the family I was closest to. And they did not care for you.
Oh, her family did not like me at all. Her grandmother and her two aunts that I met did not like me. Her dad didn't like me when I first met him.
No.
But why did they not like me? Thanks for listening to our podcast. Check out the next episodes where we continue our conversation.
You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Mr. and Mrs. Eagleton.